All right, so this cow tongue's been cooking about 3 hours now. About 20 minutes ago, I put some peppers and some tomatoes. I cut the peppers in half, take the seeds inside, some onions. Here's some tomatoes that are ready, so the skin is ready to come off. So I take those. These ones are not fully ready. I also have to take the skin off the pepper, but I'm gonna put it back in the oven for a few more minutes, and then I'll show you more steps later. So you take the skin off as much as you can. I don't like to throw this out. I use it to put into my sandwich with some cold cuts. The same thing with. All right, so you take the skin off as much as you can. I don't like to throw this out. I use it to put into my sandwich with some cold cuts. The same thing with the green pepper. I like to keep the skin. So once you have pretty much the skin off of the tomatoes and the peppers, you're gonna put it in the blender, which we're gonna blend all of this greatness together, which makes a nice paste and tomato sauce for our tongues that we're cooking a little bit later. Okay, so as you can see, it takes a little bit of time. As I said, the other stuff still is in the oven to finishing off cooking. This one's done. Put it in there. I did this one. It's okay if there's a little bit of skin left. You don't have to take it all out. Okay? As long as you get most of it out, it's okay. And this is going to be delicious stuff. Take the skin off. Keep the skin aside for some nice sandwiches. I like to put it on top of my cold cut sandwiches. All right? Take the most of the skin off. And then you're going to put it in the blender, which we're going to blend it all together. It's going to be so good. So good. All right. Talk to you soon, guys. Okay, so the tongue's been boiling for about 3 hours. So I'm going to take it out. And then I'll cut the skin off, or peel the skin off. So I'll show you guys that as a close-up. So like I said, I put some bay leaves, some salt, pepper, some Worcestershire sauce, and also 4 golden cloves in the water, so when it boils it gets some nice seasoning. So let me cut that up for you and show you guys. Alright, so that's the cow tongue. As you can see, it still has a skin. You can see that it's kind of separating from the actual meat, as you just saw now. So what we need to do is separate the skin, or the texture of the cow tongue. Now it is fully cooked and boiled. Just gonna squeeze some of that juice out. So I'm gonna put it on here because it is fully cooked, so I don't have to worry about bacteria. So you can just carefully, with a very, very sharp knife, just cut just the skin a little bit, just to be able to get this out. Okay, so that's hot. So it's very, very hot. Luckily, I'm used to some heated temperature here. Okay, it should get off pretty quick, pretty easily. If it is extremely hard to pull off, maybe you should boil a little bit longer. This one was boiling for 3 hours. Okay, maybe a little bit too long, but it's delicious. So you can try to get this of the small particle skin also. You want just this meat part as much as you can. It's okay if you cut some off. That is hot, hot, hot. So it's okay, this is fine. This is also fine. It is edible. It's just this hard stuff you want to get out, okay? And it has a kind of weird texture.
Everybody, so we do have Chef Francesco in the kitchen today, and you're cooking something that's very, very dear to my heart. What are you cooking today?
So today I've been cooking for about 4 hours, over 4 hours now, some cow tongue. So it is actually pretty good price. You can get a good price and it's pretty tender as long as you follow some really good steps. You do have to boil your tongue for 2 to 3 hours. When I did boil it, I put some bay leaves, some garlic. I also put some salt, some pepper, and some Worcestershire sauce. Or yes, and then you put that up, let it boil for 2 to 3 hours, and then you take it out, and then you peel the skin. So now, for all our lucky viewers, I've been taking videos for all these steps, and we're going to share it and add it to all of this. But when you peel it, you do have to make sure you just peel the outer skin, just the very, very thick. You can't eat that part. You just want the meat on the inside. After that, I put some green peppers, 2 green peppers, 1.5 of onion, and then about 10 tomatoes, depending on the size, 10 to 12 tomatoes, and some garlic. I put it on the pan. I put it in the oven just to be able to grill, to broil it a little bit, so you're able to take the skin out of the tomatoes and the peppers, and then that way you can put it in a blender. You blend it all up, and that's your tomato sauce that you're going to use to put it with the beef. Now, as you saw, I was preparing some tongue, so you do cut it on a diagonal against the grain, so it's a little bit more tender. So it's like cutting the tenderloin, which is the meat. Cow tongue is just as tender, even more tender than the tenderloin, and that's the good beauty about it. So when I'm cutting that up, you cut it, and then you put some seasoning. I did share the seasoning, but it's very, very quick. Some people use the Montreal steak seasoning. You can use whatever your favorite meat seasoning you use. You can use what I did. I had some onion powder, garlic powder, some paprika, some coriander, fresh ground coriander, and steeped it just to spice, and then some pepper flakes. If you want to spice it up a little bit, I didn't add the pepper flakes, but you can always add the extra high spiciness afterwards. So take the meat, put some seasoning on top, then you put some flour, and then put it aside for a few minutes. Meanwhile, you blend some white eggs in the blender for about 3 minutes, so it makes it nice like a meringue. And then you put your yellow eggs in it for another 3, 4, 5 minutes, so it makes it like a very, very fluffy meringue. So then you take your meat that's been seasoned. Well, of course, it's been boiled and everything. So you got your meat that you just seasoned. You put some flour on top, so you put it in the egg and you pan fry it. And then afterwards, once it's pan fried, you put it in the bigger pot. So in this bigger pot, you can put it aside. You can cook it in the oven, or you can cook it on the stove. I did cook it on the stove. Let's see if I can see this here. I'm gonna move my screen just to make sure I get a good angle. So I cook it on the pan at medium low heat just to be able to simmer with the tomato sauce on top. Okay. And now you do serve with your favorite rice. Now I made an El Salvadorian rice that Daisy's mother told me, which my daughter got the recipe, and then she made it with me earlier today. It's some onions, some carrots, some celery. So you put some of this beautiful rice. I guess I made 2 cups of rice here, okay? And then we could put a little bit on the side. And then the meat here, because it's been battered, pan fried, it was boiled before. It is a very, very, very tender meat. Sorry about that. And then it's literally almost falling apart here. And then you can take some of this sauce and put it right on top of your rice. And then just put 2 pieces. I got some fresh coriander here. You could just put a little bit on top. Okay. And if you want, you could put also some peppers or your hot pepper flakes. I like to put just a little bit more salt, some pepper here. And that's what it is. Look at that. So it is a long process to cook, but it is very, very, very rewarding. It has a lot of great taste. And I will show you guys, I'll cut this meat up. I'm going to show you a nice close up. Now, when I cut it, I did cut it very, very thin. So literally, like, look at that, it's just falling apart. It's even falling off the table here on the fork. It's delicious.
It
You're muted.
looks
You're muted.
incredible. Very, very impressive.
Yeah, man.
Thank you. That was really good. It does take a lot of time. There's a lot of steps. This is, I think, the second most elaborate of a lot of steps to do to be able to cook this wonderful meal. My other one, of course, is the Nitapa Italian ragu. This is a lot of steps. This is the third time I make it, and I think I got it pretty close to your grandmother's recipe, to your dad's, that passed through your dad and your mother. Because it's funny, because I called Daisy's parents for the past few days. I'm like, Oscar, how do you make it? He's like, well, I do the boiling and I do this step, and then I had to call the mother, Daisy's mother, Patty, how do you do this? And then she was telling me, well, that's how you do the eggs, and this is how you do. So I had to take two people's recipe because they cook together, right? And then try to make it together. I didn't show everybody at the last minute like I usually do, because there's so many good steps to be able to get this meat really tender. And it's, you know what, it's really worth it. You start in the midday. I started at 2 o'clock. What time is it now? It's 8 o'clock. Man, I'm gonna try to keep some peace for you, Chris. So when you come in a couple weeks, we'll just warm it up a bit.
Anyways, I'll say everything I said in the last while. Home run off the hop. I also said that looks really good. I also said out of everything you made, that's like the one there that I'm like, wow, that looks so friggin' good. Like,
it is good.
Traditional, like cow tongue. Cow
Yep.
tongue.
And it's actually
Not
pretty
cow
good
tongue.
price. The whole cow tongue was $9, and it's about half price. Well, it's about the size of a little bit bigger than the pork tenderloin, which is about the same price. But the beef is so much better and tender. It's delicious.
Wow. Where'd you go for to buy it?
So usually you can get your cow tongue from the local butcher. It's when you have it and you see it, you got to do it. You can always freeze it and use it, later on. But it's a pretty fairly decent price, and it's a good portion. Like I have here for like 3-4 people easily.
And you
Even
know
more.
what's cool is the whipping of the egg white, and then you add the
Yes.
yolk. Like
Yes.
that's interesting. That's a really that's very very interesting there.
Yeah. So
is this
Go
quite
for it.
common in El Salvador? Like Daisy, does everybody have this on a regular basis or what?
I wouldn't say on a regular basis. I think
Okay.
it's like special occasions type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
a
like
hell
a
of a
treat.
meal.
It's like a treat. It takes a while to cook, but it's reasonably priced. Nothing goes to
Right.
waste. No part of the animal goes to waste. We use everything. We eat
Uh,
everything. And yeah, but I have fond memories of my grandmother cooking this for us. And I love that my mom spent some time with my grandmother, and my grandmother taught her how to make it. So the recipe was passed down.
preserved, and now you guys have it. That's
And
so
now
awesome.
we have it.
that's it.
Mhm.
Wow.
Well,
No, that's a home run, guys. Frank, you did
Yeah.
an awesome job.
Central America. You can see a little bit on the south of Mexico. They use this recipe also, but of course the seasoning, the spicings are a little bit different. And it goes all the way to. I've seen some recipes that comes up with this, where all the way to Argentina. So I mean,
Is that so,
yeah. So I mean, they had a lot of the differences. Like in Mexico, they had a lot of more peppers and a lot more different things. But they didn't have the flour. They didn't have the refry it. So they just boil it, then they cut it, and they put in tomato. So the whole
Right. No
with
egg.
the flour and the eggs, the way that they did the eggs, I think that's more of that El Salvador, like great grandmother's recipe that's been handed down.